Hey guys, it's Vicky, and today I'm here to share with you my Reading Rush wrap-up. The reason I decided to do a wrap-up for the Reading Rush, even though I vlogged every day, was because I realized that some of you have lives and maybe didn't watch all of my vlogs every day. I know there was a lot of content coming out during the week of the Reading Rush, a lot of vlogs and things like that. And I understand that maybe you didn't get a chance to watch them and you still wanted to know, or maybe you weren't interested in watching them, and that's okay too. But maybe you still wanted to know what my thoughts were in like a sit down wrap up sort of way for the books that I did complete during the week. So I'm going to talk about them in this video. To start with though, I wanted to tell you guys what my stats ended up being for the week. I ended up reading 5 books, which was a total of 1,047 pages, which is crazy. I don't think I've ever read that many pages in a week, ever. And I did complete all 7 challenges. So, between the 5 books. So, let's go ahead and get into it. So the first book that I completed during the Reading Rush was Paper Girls Volume 5 by Brian K. Vaughan. And this fulfilled 2 challenges for me. It fulfilled to read the first book I touch and to read a book completely outside. So I read this outside on my back porch. And I won't say too much about the plot of this because it is the 5th book in a 6th volume series. But I will say it is about a group of girls who work a paper route, and it takes place in the late 1980s. And one morning, they're out doing their route and some weird stuff starts happening in their town. And it takes them on this crazy, crazy adventure. And it's a lot of fun. I really love the artwork in this. Though there were times throughout the series that I have been a little confused about what's going on, because it deals with like time travel and things like that, and so trying to like keep everything straight sometimes was difficult. This volume in particular I did really enjoy. I really liked the story arc, and I really liked where it ended because it made me want to immediately pick up volume 6 to find out how everything's gonna end up turning out. So I went ahead and got volume 6, and I'm gonna read it very, very soon because I need to know what happened in this. So yeah, this was really enjoyable, and I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. So the next book that I completed also fulfilled 2 challenges for me. It fulfilled to read a book that starts with the word the, and to read a book where inspired by a movie that you've seen. So what I basically did was I looked up like a movie that, maybe a book adaptation that I've seen where I haven't read the book, and this was one of them. And so I read, and this doesn't really tell you, but out of this collection, 4 Past Midnight, I read the novella The Langoliers by Stephen King. And this novella is about a group of people that are on an airplane flying from LA to Boston, and like maybe an hour or so into the flight, most of the crew and passengers disappear, and there's only 11 people left on the plane. And they're just like, what happened to these people? Why are we still here? And what's going on? Because when they look out of the plane, like for example, when they're flying over Denver, it's completely dark. So they're like, what's going on down there? And are we okay? You know? And so the story kind of goes from there. And I ended up loving this novella. I thought it was just so cool. The sci-fi elements, though I'm not really a sci-fi person, I thought the sci-fi elements were very digestible for me, and they just clicked with me. I just totally got it. And there was just some really great characters in here, which I expect from Stephen King. Is he has this gift of just writing people that are just so interesting, so well layered, and we had this in this novella. So yeah, I really, really liked this. I listened to the audiobook, and the audiobook was narrated by Willem Dafoe, who I love. He did a great job, except the only complaint I have about the audiobook is there's a character in here, a teenage girl named Bethany, and the way that Willem Dafoe like did her voice, she sounded like a 50-year-old woman who has spent the last 30 years smoking a pack of cigarettes a day. She just had a very like kind of voice like that. She did not sound like a teenager at all. But other than that, he did a fantastic job and I really liked it. So, spoiler alert for my August TBR, I'm going to be finishing up this collection and reading the other 3 novellas because I just want to keep on going. But the Langoliers I really enjoyed and I gave it 5 stars. The next challenge for the reading rush was to read a book that had the color of your birthstone on it. And my birthstone is aquamarine. And so I read Lost in the Sun by Lisa Graff because it had a lot of different blues on it. Aquamarine is kind of like a sky blue. So I read this one, and this is about a boy named Trent who is going into middle school and kind of dealing with the stressors of that change, but also the previous winter, he was involved in this incident with another student named Jared who, they were playing hockey, and this isn't a spoiler, this is in the blurb. So this isn't spoilers to anybody. He was playing hockey with a group of boys and he hit the puck and it accidentally hit his classmate Jared in the chest and it killed him. And so he's dealing with that because he feels obviously very guilty about it and feels like he's a bad person because even though it was an accident, he did take someone's life. And everyone around him though is saying, no, it was an accident, like you didn't mean to, you're not a bad person, but he feels differently. And so he's very angry and he's very, most of it is internalized anger, but he also projects this very angry person because he feels like people should hate him for what happened. So he wants to kind of give them a reason to hate him, if that makes any sense. So he's dealing with that. So he is an angsty sort of character, but in the sense that you kind of understand because he's dealing with this very difficult situation at a young age. He's only, 11 years old at the start of the book. So, but anyway, he befriends a girl named Fallon and they become friends, and it kind of is about him just kind of like coming to terms with what happened and learning to like respect himself and love himself again. And I just really enjoyed this story. I thought it had some great themes about dealing with the big emotions like anger and guilt and grief. And also there were some great, I think, examples in here of how to deal with conflict, not only with friends, but with people that aren't your friends, people that might give you trouble in school and things like that, which I think is really important for young people to read about, because that is probably like the biggest thing in their world is, their social life and the people that they hang around with and the people that they go to school with. And so there were some great, like I said, great themes about how to handle conflict and confrontation and that sort of thing, and to take responsibility for one's actions. So yeah, this was a good book. I really liked it and I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. The next book I read was to fulfill the challenge to read a book that takes place on a continent other than my own. This book took place in South America, and that book is Perfect Days by Rafael Montes. This is a psychological horror book about a medical student named Teo who abducts this woman named Clarice, and because he meets her at a party, becomes obsessed with her, kidnaps her, and takes her on this trip across Brazil. And so it's very dark. It has some pretty twisted parts in it. And yeah, this had some surprises in it in terms of the plot. There were things that happened that I was not expecting. It did get dark, it did get twisted. The only thing about this one was the characters just seemed kind of flat to me. I wish that there had been more, I don't know, just more development of Teo, especially since he was our main character and he is this stalker slash sociopath, whatever you want to call him. And I just wanted to get more into his head. And so this kind of lacked that a little bit for me. I wish there had been more character development. Though it had some great twists and turns in terms of plot, the ending was a little disappointing to me. I didn't really care for the ending that much. So this was a fun ride though. If you like kidnapping or stalker stories, you should definitely check this out. It will fit the bill for you. However, yeah, I wasn't crazy about the characters or the ending, so it was a 3-star read for me. And then the last book that I read for the reading rush was to fulfill the prompt to read from a genre I don't normally read from. And I decided to read a poetry collection because I basically never read poetry, but I really, really want to read more poetry. And the book I read is Don't Call Us Dead by Danez Smith. This is a poetry collection that I absolutely adored. I think what helped me to love this so much was that while I physically read the poems, I also listened to the audiobook that is narrated by Danez Smith. And I feel like that is one of the best ways to take in poetry, is to hear the poet say their own words, because it was fantastic. So if you can, get your hands on the audiobook of this and try to read and listen at the same time, because it's a great, great experience. But this collection deals with violence against Black people. It deals with racism. It deals with loss and grief, a little bit of love. And then there are quite a few poems that deal with HIV, because Danez Smith is HIV positive. So those poems especially were very powerful, and some of the imagery in those poems was just amazing. So yes, this is pretty heavy in terms of the subject matter. There were a few poems that did make me laugh or had parts that made me laugh, but I think for the most part it was a pretty serious collection. But I really, really loved it. Standouts to me were, there were two that really stood out to me. One was called Dear White America, and the other one was called Dinosaurs in the Hood. I also really liked, if you watched my vlog, there was one in here about Emmett Till that I also thought was very, very powerful, that I really enjoyed too. So yes, I enjoyed this so much, loved it. It's making me want to try more and more poetry. And yeah, this was a 5-star read for me. All right guys, so that is my wrap up for the reading rush. I had a fantastic reading rush. I've never completed all the challenges, I don't think, in a readathon ever. So that was really exciting. And I finished all the books that I had on my TBR, which is also awesome. So yes, very proud of myself. However, now I am pretty burned out and I'm probably gonna take the next few days to not really read much of anything, other than I am trying to finish up Stamped from the Beginning. I do want to finish that by the end of the month. But I think other than that, I don't really have a whole lot of reading that I'm going to be doing, because I just need a break between the heavy reading I was doing for the past week and all of the vlogging and editing and posting. I'm just like, nah, I need a break. So it was a great time, but I'm now pretty exhausted and want a little break. So anyways, let me know down below how you did, if you took part in the reading rush. I would love to hear how everybody did and what kinds of things they were reading during the week. And yeah, I think I will be back. My next video will probably be my August TBR, which is like crazy that it's already August. But yeah, that'll probably be my next video. And then that way, in my July wrap up, I will not talk about these books. I had to break it up a bit because I still have, I'm looking at it, I still have quite a stack over there that were not part of the reading rush that I'm going to be wrapping up. And if I had done everything in one video, it would have been ridiculously long. So yes, so look forward to my August TBR and my July wrap up in the next week or so. And that's all I have for today, guys. So I hope you're having a wonderful week, and I will talk with you soon. Thank you so much for watching.